And joining us live right now, CTV military analyst, retired Major General David Fraser. Good morning. Let's talk about this offensive. What effect does this have on, ceasefire negotiations?
Well, I think it's going to have an adverse effect on the ceasefire negotiations because Israel is determined that it's going to attack into the last stronghold of Hamas and where most of the people are. So until that is done, Israel probably has no interest in doing a ceasefire, and Hamas will be not very receptive of Israel who wants to negotiate while they're still attacking. So I think this is going to put those negotiations on hold.
Whose responsibility is it to make sure that the civilians in Rafah are protected, that they are safe? Because, there are fewer and fewer places where people can actually seek refuge. How does this factor in everything?
Well, simplistically, it's the responsibility of Hamas, who are fighting the Israelis, to make sure that their fighters are not amongst those civilians. And secondly, for Israel, the Israeli Defense Force is to only use the application of force necessary to go after a belligerent, a Hamas fighter, and not civilians. So both sides have ownership of making sure that they don't injure or kill innocent civilians.
Where do you see things going next?
Well, quite frankly, I don't see good news story coming out of this. I mean, there's going to be bombing and killing while Israel is going after Hamas. Unfortunately, this war has been so much collateral damage on buildings and most of all on the 34,000 plus people who have been killed. So what we're going to see right now is probably the worst fighting and the worst casualties we can expect, just because of the density of innocent civilians who are in harm's way of the Israelis who are trying to go after Hamas. And
along those lines, what about protections to ensure that the humanitarian aid actually reaches the people? Can you talk about that? Well, in fact, the fact that, Israel is now actually at the Egyptian border where the aid comes through, most of the aid, the fact is aid's not going to get through until they are satisfied that the Hamas is not using that to get out or to bring military supplies in. So aid resupply now is going to be adversely affected because of the fighting, which is right there in the areas where they come across. So there's not very much good news in this operation, and hence that's why United States are holding back some munitions back from Israel, because they're not happy with the attack either. So what should be happening behind the scenes in the high-level negotiations? At the high-level negotiations, both sides should be talking about when is the fighting going to end, how are we going to get back the hostages, and most of all, which nobody has been talking about, what is the plan after the fighting is over, and how is Israel and the people in Gaza going to reconcile what's happened, and how are they going to go back to some sort of normalcy, if that can ever be achieved. But what is the plan after the fighting? That is going to be the key discussion. Okay, CTV military analyst, retired Major General David Fraser. Thank you for your time this morning.